Hello, hello. We're back once again. This is the Union Tapes episode number 23, and this is we've gone a little bit deeper underground with this one, and this is with a guy called Shaun Allison, who I'm sure some of you may not have even heard of. Shaun was one of the street innovators of the late 80s, and was one of the guys that rode with Dave Slade, Sid, Jason Ellis, and the Trumpton guys. Was a big time pioneer of the street riding back in the day. But we get quite deep into it in this one. We talk about his avoidance of magazine coverage back in the day, and how he sort of contributed to the zine scene that was going on and the more underground stuff that was going on at the time. But this is a good journey and a good story about 80s in the UK and 80s BMX. So get in there and enjoy it. Give us like a bit of born and raised and like what you was into as a kid and stuff like that. Just like a general.
Born in Worksop, North Nottinghamshire. It was pretty bleak. It was pretty bleak. My parents had just split in about 82. I was 12, 13, something like that. What I was into, John, is same as everybody. I was into sort of football. I was good, played for the school, played for the regional area. So if I was going to do something, I did it all in, you know what I mean? Then I was into sort of the two-tone music scene.
Okay, yeah.
13, perfect for me, you know what I mean? And then BMX, really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
Did you get into skate scene at all?
No, never. Same as.
Oh wow.
Same as Jason said. No, never. It was all BMX, all or nothing for me, Joe. All or nothing.
All right. And what was that like? So was you into like before you got into BMX? Did you get into like just general bikes, like farting about and doing jumps and stuff?
This may surprise you, John. No, I didn't.
Wow.
I got a rally chopper in, I would say the summer of 82, maybe tail end of 82. Cost me £4 and I had it for 4 days. So it was £1 a day, John. £1 a day. And I was useless. I've got to be honest. I couldn't even jump. And that was my first bike. I was 15 years old.
Okay. Your first bike?
Yeah. My first bike was 15 years old, mate. It's weird, as I say. My parents had just split. She was bringing up 3 children, you know. Times were tough, John, you know.
Yeah. Oh, man. So where did you, like, discover BMX then? If you was at a chopper, why did the chopper only last 4 days as well?
Oh, I jumped the hell out of it, you know what I mean?
Trashed it?
Yeah, there was doing makeshift tracks where we were. I think we had like 3 tracks in our town at one point. And yeah, just trying to jump it, and it just disintegrated, John.
Oh, okay. So you were taking it to the BMX track?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was just destroyed it, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what? You assumed that the best thing for it was a BMX, then, I guess.
Yeah, because there was everywhere. You couldn't avoid it, John. You know.
Yeah.
I think ET had just come out. It's a sort of reasonable sized town where I live in, and you couldn't avoid it. You couldn't avoid it. The neighbours had the one. It seemed everywhere you went, there was this. It was the thing to do, really. You know.
Yeah, it was booming. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the next fad that came from America. You know.
And what did you see it on TV first, or like just local kids?
Local kids, John, I would say.
Yeah.
Local kids. It was everywhere. You know, my neighbours had, I think, a Team Murray.
Yeah.
And then obviously Moto Mags, I remember them distinctly. You know, mongooses. I mean, all that era, John. BMX Bi-Weekly, official BMX, all that.
Yeah, so you saw the mags as well. Did you get the bike before you saw the mags? Can you remember?
No, I got a bike Christmas '82. Christmas '82, and I was amazed because we really didn't get much at Christmas, and for some reason this Christmas we had the latest thing. I think I once said I wanted a snooker table, which was half in jest, really, because come sort of summertime, that's what I wanted, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, BMX was the thing. It was just my local shop, actually called Shaun Allison, which was like 2 streets from where I lived. They actually had, believe it or not, they had rally. There was a rally stockist, and they was doing model trains as well for some daft reason.
All right.
So yeah, we saw the Burners in there, or the Team Murrays, I think, before that. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the thing to be into, John.
Yeah.
The thing.
So what did you get? A burner?
I got an ultra burner, mate.
Oh, okay.
An ultra burner.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll tell you a strange story, actually. We got it for Christmas Day, '82. Me and my brother. My brother was so excited. He got up at 6 o'clock. Obviously, he had nothing to eat. We went out riding, John. And come 9 o'clock, he turned white. And I was like, what's going on here? And he keeled over through lack of food.
No way.
Through lack of food, yeah. And he was like, come on, we better get you back. That's how excited he was. And yeah, it was great times.
Yeah. Oh man, cool, man.
Yeah,
it's a good one. So that was your start. Was that bike? And then, so like, did you discover people to ride with? Or like, what was going on at this point? Like, you riding the BMX track?
Yeah. I mean, we had local neighbours. They were sort of slightly younger. But the other end of town, we had sort of older, and there was really fantastic places to ride. And some older riders, which obviously appealed to me, you know. Because obviously I was 15, I was still way older than most people were then, you know. But yeah, I had to go. The other end of town, absolutely amazing for riding.
There was a skate park over there, was there?
No, there wasn't.
Sorry.
It's just there's a school, and then it's I would say sort of 60s era sort of buildings, but there's a hell of a lot of banks and some bowls and rails and jumps. You know what I mean? Perfect for street, absolutely amazing. But that's what we had, and that's what we brought up. But it was the usual case of, you know, see how far you could jump, see how many bricks you could bunny up, that sort of thing going on, you know.
Yeah, early days, yeah.
Early days, mate, yeah.
So what were you doing? Just jumping out the banks or doing kick turns and stuff?
Yeah, pretty much jumping out the banks. I'm trying to think if we saw kick turns. We probably didn't see kick turns quite then, you know.
Yeah.
So mainly jumping. There was a few guys. There was a local racer who was quite infamous from where we were. He did regionals, he did nationals, and he was on a talker.
Okay. Who was that?
I got to see him once, and ride with him. We had like this little bomb hole thing he jumped out of. And it was pretty rad, mate. Yeah. So I saw him ride once. So.
And what was his name? Do you remember?
A guy called Lee Kuker. It doesn't mean, you know, he just racing regionals and nationals, but it meant a lot to where we were from, John. You know.
Yeah. So you're kind of like just getting out and about, and you're still at school, right? You're 15.
I was in my last year, I would think, John. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the other? Was there other riders your age?
There was actually people older than me. There was a guy called Titch who was a year older than me. Shardy, I believe his name, who was a year older than him.
Okay.
A guy called Kev Mottershaw, the other end of town. I think he's older than me.
Okay.
So yeah, they came from like a motocross background. Some of them, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, and like, what was the general sort of perception of someone of 15 riding around on a BMX back then?
God.
Was it rough, yeah?
Yeah, but this was this was boom period. You know what I mean? Everyone was everyone was cool with it. You know what I mean? Obviously, perception changed later on when it died to death. You know,
so it's still too early.
Yeah. But the it was still boom period, and it was cool as It was strange because I mean, I think I mentioned this to you before. The 80s wasn't the greatest time. You know what I mean? It's we was in Thatcher's Britain. Unemployment was sky high. You know, and so it was dark. It was dismal. It was depressing, if I'm honest. And you know, it's. I mean, I'm from. There's a lot of like mining towns where we are, and say the miners' strike. I mean, it touched us up here. You know what I mean? You could feel it. You know.
Yeah.
I was there when they came out for one of the miners' strike, and it was a scary time, John. You know, they was coming, and I just started employment, and they was angry as fuck, and it was Thatcher's Britain. It was fucking horrible. It was horrible.
So the miners were there was a mine in your town.
Yeah, they came out on strike in a local town near me.
Oh wow!
About 2,000 or 3,000 on it, and I just started work, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a fucking scary time. I was in a little minibus, you know, and they was angry as fuck, mate.
So what was you doing?
Good question. I think it was landscaping. I think.
Okay, so you weren't related to that side at all.
No. I was just happened to be sort of in the town. It was only a small little town, John. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No. Angry times like throughout. Like.
I mean, people tend to forget this. You know what I mean? For me, it was dark, and then, you know, the latest craze BMX came. You know, and it sort of transformed me from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it took you away. Yeah.
It took me away, yeah. I mean, especially the magazines, John. You know what I mean? Seeing the Pipeline or Del Mar or any of these old parks. You know, it's like just transformed you to another place. You know.
Yeah, it took you to another world, didn't it? That you could kind of relate to.
I mean, I don't know about if I could relate to it, John. It's just
but like from the bike,
it seemed otherworldly to me. You know what I mean?
But you can relate your well, for me, I could relate. I've got this bike and I want to do that. I'm not in California and it looks nothing like California, but I still could try and recreate that stuff. Like,
oh man, the thing, the early sort of action bikes and officials and bike weeklies and some of the images in there, I mean, it's sort of imprinted on my brain. You know what I mean? The sort of Radness Unlimited, the Mad Max Stapleton and that sort of era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to me, I mean, I saw an old official, and it seemed like motocross to me, but on a BMX. You know what I mean? And it's something I could relate to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. That's what it was, wasn't it? It was very motocross at the start. So
it were, and for an older guy, I could very much relate to that.
Yeah. And who was the guys that you were like at this early point in time? Who were the riders that you were kind of like looking at, thinking these dudes can do it?
Well, we just had a couple of guys. I mean, there was a guy called Titch. He was into racing, and I'd go to a local track, Gainsborough, which is like 18 mile away.
Yeah.
And watch him race. But all I was interested in is jumping the last sort of 2 or 3 doubles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was never into racing, never into skateboard. It was just, for some reason, I don't know why, it was just all freestyle. You know what I mean? I couldn't care less about the racing, which seems dead strange, but it was. I was sort of very much a minority. You know, being interested in freestyle straight from the off, really.
Yeah, I think there's more people like that than you would expect, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought for a longest period I was like, this is strange, you know. Everybody's into racing.
Yeah, racing was it. Yeah, I remember seeing. So we had some local racers that were semi-well known, and I remember like we used to build jumps out of crates and planks, and then one day those guys would come down and they would hit the jumps, and it'd just be like, oh, they can't. They just do the same as us, really, you know. Yeah. And we were just tiny kids.
I'd go to some regional or something, John. We had a few regional places here, and it's like, okay, that's okay, but they couldn't do anything, you know. Or in my eyes, they couldn't do. I mean, I was just sort of doing rock walks and 360s and stuff. They was like looking at me like I was from Mars or something, you know what I mean? It's like, what's this guy doing, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's racing. It's a totally different, it's a different skill set.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. What about the guys in the mags? Who was you like looking at as to those guys who you thought were good?
I mean, initially, it's the usual fare, you know. It's the Tim Marches, the Andy Ruffles, Mad Matt Stapleton for some reason. He seemed like a rad dude to me.
Yeah.
Anything from Rom, anything from Pipeline, Delmar, that sort of thing was just mind blowing to me. Anything in the Radness Unlimited, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything which pushed the boat a little, you know.
Yeah. Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
and what was like some of your? Did you see BMX on the TV like in that early days?
Yeah, it was on like children's programs and Saturday mornings, and you see it creep up on things, but it was very sort of, you know, presented to children.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, because you're older, I wondered how your view of that was.
It really seemed alien to me because it wasn't sort of portrayed for people my age, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, it seemed weird because it certainly wasn't aimed at me.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't aimed at me. It was aimed, you know, but it was cool seeing some of the tricks or some of the riding, you know. I mean, that's always good.
Yeah. So what about BMX Beat? Did you see that? Yeah. Because that was really bad, wasn't it? Like, for me.
I did. Obviously, I think Slade was on it. I think Ellis was on it, a few. So we had friends, you know what I mean? But again, it's not aimed at me, John. It's
yeah.
I wasn't their target audience, you know. It's
but did that make you like did that stir you up? Like
oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at.
It's the people and everything on it, but there's just the presenting and the way it was portrayed to people. It was just like, oh my god, it's just so cringeworthy. It's unreal, you know.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah.
To me, it doesn't hold a great place in my heart, John. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was nice seeing the riders. I mean, the riding was worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I have the same. I was very young then.
I can't bear to watch any of that footage now, John. You know, I've got it all, and I just can't bear it. It's just like it's not for me. I'm sorry. It's not.
I had that. So I was probably like 11 or something, and I was like the same. Like, this is rubbish. Like, yeah. Like I had really strong feeling against it.
It's so cringeworthy, some of that. But again, I wasn't the target audience. We're talking, you know, we're talking 12 to 14, 15-year-olds, you know.
And I think sometimes the reaction against the things like that are what makes it. Like, it made it better in the long run because it was so bad. The reaction against it is so big and so strong that,
So it should be.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's cringeworthy, you know. But, I mean, in my time, I've seen fads come and go as well, and they'll just do the same thing with the latest trend with that as well. So you can't just blame it purely on BMX. It's just the way that it's going to be.
No. Yeah, it was the 80s as well, like, and it was a really bad period of time for everything.
It was bad television, bad music as a whole as well. You know.
Yeah. And what was like your first sort of riding spots that you went to specifically for riding freestyle?
Specifically, John, I lived in a house and I had to go like 10 yards and I was on the street. So I'd practice all my flatland there.
Okay.
As from that, we had 3 tracks as well. So you'd always be doing jumps and so on. But as I say, the fad lasted about 2 years in my time, whereas everybody did it. And then I wouldn't say almost overnight, but 2 years, 3 years passed, and there may be 2 people doing it, you know.
Yeah.
So it seemed strange. It was a fad. It came like a rocket, and you know what I mean. It dipped like a rocket as well. It was it came and it went. Yeah,
that rocket ran out of fuel pretty quick, didn't it? Yeah.
It did. Yeah. But I mean, it didn't stop me, mate. The passion, you know, was always there. So.
Yeah. What did you? So was there like a local quarter that you used to ride or anything like that?
Oh my God. There was a national fete called the Basset Law Show. And it must have been 83. There was a show, somebody must have organised it, and we had the first sort of 50 pence piece quarter pipe.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture, mate, because it's bloody fucking unreal.
Oh,
it's like, don't, and a tiny little bit of it's like, oh my fucking God, what are you supposed to do on this? And like a trick ramp that you're supposed to sort of air or 360 off it or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'd have sort of the riders that were riding doing in a formation, but in a figure of 8. So we'd crisscross each other, and it was cringy, mate. But I was young, mate.
You was doing the show?
Yeah, but I mean, amongst 10, 12 other people, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember being at work and some guy goes, "Oh, somebody fell off doing a 360." I was like, "Yeah, it was fucking me, mate." You know what I mean? It was me. So, yeah.
And whose was the quarter pipe?
I don't know. I think it was just made specifically for this sort of fete this year. Like, you know. I'll send you the pictures, John, because it's
amazing. Yeah,
you're ever going to see, mate.
I've seen some bad ones. I don't know.
Well, get ready, mate.
And so how does it evolve into like you rode ramp and flatland?
Yeah.
To start, like, so, and where was you like? Was you like riding flatland as in like aggro flatland? Like, you know, some people, like you said,
no. You'd just be emulating what was going off. You'd be doing your. If you're talking early doors, John, you're talking 360s, rock walks.
Yeah.
You know, a roll back 540s, things like that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And riding ramp as well, but you didn't have a local ramp to ride.
No, we didn't have a local ramp. Yeah, we rode that 50 pence piece quarter that I mentioned. What we also did, I think, the year later, they had the local paper did an event in the local sports hall.
Okay.
And that was a lot better quarter pipe. So we get to ride that. Well, my brother had a BMX. I think he won the Weirdy competition as well. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we had. You may remember a guy called Pardeep Lyle. He looked.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, he had he looked like Bob Arrow, but he was from Nottingham. Good rider, I suppose. He came up. But yeah, we had a Basset. I've got a trophy. It's still called the Basset Law Shield, and it's about this big. It's massive, and it's only got my name on it. So yeah.
Well, you won that.
Oh yeah. But I mean, the competition wasn't too strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, well, it wasn't, John. It wasn't. So.
But it's still cool, isn't it? Like, so. How did you? Who else rode that we would know of? Other than
nobody.
Jason Ellis.
Nobody. No? Nobody. This was talking 84, mate. 84. So.
Okay, so this is like real early.
Oh, we're talking early doors. Yeah.
No Dave Slade or no one there, no.
No. First time I saw Dave, he was doing the Blue Tile Trick Team.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
You would have heard of, yeah.
Yeah.
There was like 4 people in it. I think Martin Bernstein, Lee Brown, Richard. I think that's it. But yeah, there was rad. Yeah, saw those at various. Like Doncaster race course. I saw them at the Ford dealership in my town. So yeah, that was probably, but that may be after the YMCA. I think it was probably after the YMCA. Yeah.
So what was the YMCA? Was that in Sheffield?
That was in Sheffield. Yeah, I do remember going quite a bit actually.
Okay.
And I do remember obviously meeting Sid there because I'd have met Sid on the. It had been like 4 stops from me on the way to Sheffield, you see.
Yeah.
I think Sid and Jake from Kibberton. Met them there. I think we met Dave there, Lee Brown, Meakin, Anthony Christian. It was a good rider, very good rider. We met them there. And this was early doors. We'd have a quarter pipe with... almost leaned up against the wall. I'm sure you've seen photos of it, John. And you'd have a kick turn ramp at the other side as well.
Yeah.
And Stu Warner as well. He lived local as well. Good rider.
So what was that, at the weekends or of an evening?
At the
Do you remember?
weekends for me, John. It may be
Okay.
once in the week, but I didn't ride it then. So.
And what was the like? Was Dave Slade already like quite advanced at that point? Or
He was. Yeah, I think he'd been in a few magazines. It was strange, Dave. You never knew what to expect with Dave. He could really surprise you, John.
yeah,
Really surprised. You think you know him. You'd ride with him for an hour. You think, oh yeah, I've got the measure of him, and then he'd come out with something crazy. And he was
Okay.
always like that. He had some balls on him. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like old. He's your age as well, or is?
I would say is maybe a year, maybe 2 years younger than me, John.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, I'm 56 now, and I'm pretty certain. Yeah, I'm pretty certain he'll be 54-ish. I think.
Okay.
Pretty certain.
Nice. And what was that like? Do you know how the blue tile trick team? Who like pioneered that? Whose was it?
I really couldn't tell you. But it went for a few years, and it was pretty professional, I think, for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
Actually, John, I think it might have been through AB Wheels, London Road in Sheffield. I think it might have been through those, mate.
Okay, yeah, it looked like it had an adult touch to it, yeah.
Yeah, AB Wheels, mate. A little tiny place, and it was like an Aladdin's cave when you went in. It was just like they've got everything.
Was it just BMX or?
Just
bike?
BMX. Tiniest little place. Didn't last too long, though, either.
All right. The cool name for a demo team as well, Blue Tile, I thought was really good.
Yeah, ahead of the time. And, yeah, somebody had some good taste.
Yeah, man. And what was like? So you've now you're discovering a few new scenes and stuff. Like you're going to Sheffield.
Yeah. Well, the first scene was going to Gainsborough with Titch just for the race meets.
Yeah.
But I would say pretty soon after that would have been, because then it sort of, there was almost nobody doing it. So you'd go and explore the next town, and then the next town, and then the next. And I went to Retford, and obviously there was still a scene there.
Yeah.
And we met them at the old skate park. Obviously, Jason Ellis has told you about this. It's like a 60-foot transition that's about 6 foot high. You know what I mean? All you can do is jump out of it and kick turns, you know. But yeah, I met all the sort of Retford lot there, you know. I don't know if I met Elle straight away. I think the Hudsons was certainly there, and a lot of the other locals. But basically, it was just jumping out the bloody thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And that's that they had a quarter pipe or a half pipe. That's pre-half pipe, I assume. Yeah.
They had a mobile quarter pipe. Yes, John. Yeah.
Okay.
But I must admit, back then, I mean, they didn't. I hate to say it, but they didn't stand out to me. They was just doing long rollbacks. You know what I mean? There was just one of the group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was nothing. It was strange because I'd come with some sort of flatland moves, and even though the next town they had their own little set of tricks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, you might find this yourself. You know.
Yeah, I mean they were probably a little bit younger as well, so
a little bit younger. You know, I was probably 16 when I went, maybe touching 17. I don't know, but there's a big age gap between sort of 17 and 12, 13, John. You know what I mean?
Massive.
It's massive. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You know, no disrespect, but it's
Yeah, I don't think. I think James. I don't know if he seemed to get good like overnight. James Hudson. I remember at one point he was just like real good, and I didn't really know him.
John, I mean, because I saw him all the way through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it was certainly good, mate.
Yeah.
The really big progression I found is sort of 88, 89, 90.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Well, James and Jason Ellis went to the States. One of the AFA contests, you know what I mean? And he was riding at the Enchanted Ramp. And actually, I think Jason Ellis was actually asked to do that ROUS tour. But obviously, you know what I mean, he needed a visa and so on and so forth. But when James and especially Elle came back from there, they was fucking awesome, mate.
Yeah.
They took it to another level, you know.
Yeah, man. That's back when people went to America and came back better than when they left. I was talking to someone
But
about this
honestly,
the other day.
you'd be a fool if you didn't get better if you're riding with Matt Hoffman and everybody else at the Enchanted run.
Yeah.
You would, you're bound to improve.
It's just weird to think about that happening in such a short period of time. But I think like you end up when you're young, that does happen. You know, you level up fast.
Well, as I say, when I first went to the Hudsons, it was like a mobile quarter pipe, and they used to have it sort of near part. They had the garage, the quarter pipe, and then the house. You know, and we rode that for a year and a bit. You know, then they had the next incarnation. Well, the first incarnation of the half pipe. And you'd see them get better because obviously, why wouldn't you if it's in the in the garden, you know?
Yeah, I think that was early, that half pipe as well for half pipes, you know.
Oh, certainly,
good,
yeah.
And so like, when do you start sort of you're riding? What level are you riding the ramp at? Like how high are you going, and like what sort of moves were you doing?
Oh dear, John. For the mobile, I remember getting about 5 one day.
Okay, so decent, yeah.
Yeah, pretty decent. And then towards the end of the day, I remember hooking up, and I was like, "Oh shit, I better just calm down a little bit." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I had a lid on either. So, but yeah.
So you were doing proper BMX riding. This is, isn't it?
Oh yeah, certainly, mate. Yeah. I mean, as I say, it's all or fucking nothing, John. It's all or nothing. It has been, you know.
Yeah, and then like. You're learning to do airs on the quarter, then you ride the half pipe, I assume, as well, yeah?
Oh, of course, mate. But it's strange because I'm riding with a coaster at this point, you know.
So it's really hard.
So you're having to do it, and I think we had 16 foot of flat, so you're having to put like 2 pedals in. Never the easiest thing to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but James rode it a lot better than me, and Jesus, he were blasting some days, you know.
Yeah.
And Mick, you know, you tend to forget about how good Mick was as well.
Yeah, well, Mick was. That's why I always thought that James got better overnight, because Mick was the person that got a lot of coverage early on, and I hadn't heard of James till later.
James was more of an all-round rider.
Yeah.
But his lip tricks were better than Mick's maybe. But yeah, they both was good in their own different ways. It's like comparing apples and oranges, John. You know.
Yeah, totally. And what about like? Did you go to many like UK BFA contests at that time?
I went to them all, John.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, certainly. As soon as we knew that there was in Alfreton, which isn't a million miles from where I live, you know.
Yeah.
You just go to encourage the riders who were riding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went to loads, mate. I mean, I remember taking that journey in my sleep. You know what I mean? All the time, and I competed for a year as well. So.
And what was your view on that? Was you into that at one point or no?
Well, at that point, it was like you're seeing people from other areas, John. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's rad. You're seeing the people that's in the magazines for the first time. So you're bound to be impressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I just meant the general structure of it. Like when you first go, it's different to the last time you go. You know?
Oh man, yeah. I went to them all, mate. Well, yeah, it's like a second home for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. So why did you stop going then?
Well, I competed for a year. But I quickly realised it wasn't for me, John. You know what I mean? I'm quite an insular, private person. You know what I mean? I'm not this outgoing, gregarious sort of showman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think to a degree, you know what I mean? If you're going to be a good freestyle, I think sometimes you have to have some of those qualities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just wasn't for me. It was very formulated as well. I do remember sort of having to do compulsory flatland tricks as well, and I'm thinking, why the fuck do we have to do this? This is not for me, you know. Yeah. You know, I've got nothing against the BFA at all. If you know what I mean, it's built careers out of a lot of riders. You know, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't for me. It was very formulated. You know, and it's if you're having regimented tricks, it sort of stifles creativity as well, I think.
Yeah, that's what a couple of other people have said in these interviews as well.
You know, I mean, but I've got nothing against them, John. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just wasn't for me.
Yeah. That's what I assumed, that like that's a weird package for a lot of people who ride BMX even back then.
Yeah, it's I don't know, BMX in a leisure centre. I mean,
Yeah,
but you know, but it was fabulous seeing the riders from all over the country. That obviously I made it. You know.
Yeah. And what was this, like 85? I assume. Yeah.
Oh blimey. Yeah. As soon as we heard about they was doing them there, yeah, we was at the very first ones.
And who was you like going to those events with?
Oh, be Jason Ellis.
Okay, so Ellis is like one of your real early friends to sort of travel with as well.
He's a dude. He's like a brother, mate. I think it was almost my age, but what I saw in him, I saw a fucking fire in his eyes, and I saw the determination straight away.
Yeah.
And I thought, this guy, you know, it was like me. He was just like fucking lived and breathed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he still has to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah, he's balls to the wall, wasn't it? So he's young. So he was like, you took him under your wing basically because he's much younger than you, right?
You know, I'm not some sort of father figure or anything, John, but
for a better use of the term.
No,
you know?
Yeah.
If you're the older guy and he's with you, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had all the Hudsons as well. We had the Sheffields as well. Obviously, I was very good friends with the Sheffield. See, me, obviously I was going to Sheffield quite a lot as well, so I got to know them as well. And yeah, it was just sort of meeting. It was a congregation of all, you know. Yeah, it was
renegades.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yeah. And then so that's quite a large area, and that scene seems like it was quite tight.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Where did Sid start coming into it?
Well, Sid, as I say, he lives about 8 miles from me, and obviously I used to see him on the way to the YMCA. Sid is really quite. He's somebody I'd like to talk about quite a bit. I've actually saw him for the first time about 10 days ago. So
really?
I've not seen him for like 20 years, you know.
Oh, amazing.
Well, it was Jason Ellis's mum's funeral, but it was under bad circumstances, but it was lovely to see him, you know.
Yeah. Oh, man. And so he come in as part of the what area was he? What area was he? I always thought he was Sheffield, but
it is. It's like from there's Retford, 8 mile to my house, then 8 mile to Kiverton, and then I don't know, 10, 12 to Sheffield. But by this time, John, we was all sort of hanging around Retford, you know, hanging around the half pipe, you know.
Yeah.
Even though maybe me and Sid didn't ride it as much as. Well, we probably did it, especially early on, you know. But Sid was more my age.
Okay.
As was Elle, you know. So obviously I'm going to be attracted to, you know, riding with those more. Yeah.
And what was like, when did you like, when you're seeing stuff in like action bike and because like suddenly like street riding is becoming a little bit of a thing. Like, you know, Dave Curry pictures and Nick Phillip and Craig. And it's like, how is that what influenced you guys to get into that? Or was you guys already going?
Oh, we were always into it, John. You'll find it with most scenes, but especially where we were. We were just riding anything. I mean, I was actually on the dole for a long time, you know, trying to follow DSBM Extreme, as you call it, you know.
Okay.
And as I say, so I was riding, bloody hell, from morning till night, you know what I mean? Because I had all that time. So I would practice flatland, but then we've got banks and rails and walls and so on and so forth. And you'd just be riding that as well, you know what I mean? And that, to a degree, became more fun as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And more creative as well.
But so do you think that you wasn't like under the influence of those? Because I'm not talking about like the Nick Phillip era stuff, but you know the stuff before that were like Dave Curry,
Yeah, oh
early,
man,
like 85. He was doing like stuff that I only realised recently was like, oh, he's
it
basically
was
the start of it.
rad as fuck, Dave Curry, man.
Yeah.
What happened to him? I mean, Jesus Christ. The thing, I mean, he did the Vanderroll into the performance, didn't he? So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, way ahead of his time, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, anything that sort of wasn't regimented and structured, I mean, I was really sort of appealed to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was a rad dude by all accounts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he was one of the first, I think, to sort of start bringing that into the main light of that magazine.
Yeah.
I just wondered if that had any role on what you guys were doing.
I would say so. Yeah, because it appealed to me because it was more my age and it was to my sensibilities more like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was you know, if it was an older rider, it'd certainly speak to me a lot more.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, like it becomes legitimate as well when you see it in the pages instead of just doing it and it never being covered. Suddenly it's in the magazine and like. Yeah. So did you guys like? I
thought that Dave Curry was sort of forging his own path as well. You know what I mean? He wasn't doing things by the book as well.
That's,
you know,
that's 100%. Yeah, that's what I think as well. Yeah, he was bringing completely fresh, new thing to.
Yeah, but by all accounts, he was going to America a lot as well, so we were seeing things over there. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So when did you guys start focusing more energy on like riding the unsort of charted stuff?
The uncharted, yeah.
Like when do you? Because you had a really I only saw you ride that one time other than in videos, but like you had a really strong, like powerful, like aggro. It was like there was a lot of emotion in it.
That's the way I saw street, mate. I aggressive, fast, with precision as well. You know, but plenty of attitude. But that's just, I suppose that's the way I was. I was quite angry, I suppose, John. You know, I think the 80s, I mean, especially the political system, you were rallying against that, you know. I was quite angry when my parents split. I think that's been a big driving force, mate. So something must have lit the fire, and I think it could only be those two things, you know.
Yeah.
But sorry, I've gone off topic. What
no, it's all right. So how, like that, you're saying that sort of riding style evolved from the anger that you were feeling as a youngster.
Oh, certainly was. Yeah.
That was still the fuel because it looked angry. The riding, like you say, is a perfect description of what you just said.
Yeah, but I was older, so I was more physical. I was certainly sort of built for it, maybe. But that's the way I saw street riding then. To be aggressive, to be, to give it your all. I think that's how it was. And I think the first time I saw Peter Augustine ride, I just thought we are so simpatico. We were so fucking close in our sort of vision of what street riding should be, you know.
Yeah.
What
was that? When was that you saw him ride?
I saw Peter Augustine ride. He came over. I don't know if it was the Champ of Champs, but he's certainly at Alfreton doing a photo shoot. I don't know if you remember. You might be able to find it. He was doing a rock and roll on a wall. And it was I think he was doing a blunt as well.
Yeah.
But he did this rock and roll on this wall, on the entrance to Alfreton Leisure Centre, as was. And he damn near fucking destroyed this wall, John. I mean, it was in pieces by the time he done it. And I was like, fuck, yeah. You know, I can relate to this dude. It's like fucking looking in a mirror, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's good. And it was... he was selling sort of Odyssey stuff on the back of his car as well, as the pros wants, you know what I mean? And after the photo shoot, he was just sort of resting and so on. I thought, surely this guy wants somebody to ride with. He's just doing a photo shoot, you know what I mean? He's just come all the way from America. So there was just like some walls and, you know what I mean, a little I just thought, I thought I'll sort of jam with him and stuff, and then other people sort of joining in and so forth. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I thought, yeah, why not? You know.
So you met him then, yeah?
That was the first. Well, that was the first and only time I saw him. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. So was that before you were telling me about there was going to be a photo shoot of you and him?
No, that was way later on. That was probably late '89. I'm thinking, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, late '89. Yeah, what it was is, not many people know this, but James Hudson, who was contributing for Rad at the time, I think Peter Augustine was over. I think he must have been dating somebody in London, but he was definitely over. And he says, "Do you want to do a photo shoot?" It's sort of a UK versus USA sort of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I bloody do. Yeah, I do. Because I'd seen the caliber he was riding at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was quite comfortable with that. But by this point, I think we'd sort of was doing our own thing most certainly, and he'd not seen half the tricks that we were doing. So okay. I was like, yeah, I'd relish this. But it wasn't to be. As I say, I think the M20. It was told to me that the M25 was flooded, so he couldn't get up. And this was before, the internet. I didn't even have a phone, John. You know what I mean? It was just like, right, meet at this point. You know what I mean? Meet in Worksop, and we're going to do this photo shoot. You know what I mean? I waited all day for nothing.
Wow.
But it's these things happen. It's out of our control, John.
Yeah, totally. So, but did you say that you had, didn't really like the mags up until that point, or?
I've got nothing against the mags. I just thought.
Or you grew away from them, or something.
Well, what it was is I think Dave Slade wanted me in the mag way before I was in, or certainly 6 months to a year. And I think by this point, James put something in Rad that you may have seen in the news, and it's like, where is Shaun, the legendary street rider, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And to me, even though I appreciated that James did that, it felt like it was, it was a burden on my back. It was like something I couldn't live up to,
Okay.
And I just thought, so to a degree, I wasn't really care about the publicity, John. You know what I mean? I think it's quite an hollow thing. If you're just craving publicity, it's a really hollow and thing to do. But yeah, it kind of put me off sort of magazine coverage to a degree, if I'm honest.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I just maybe I didn't trust their viewpoint. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, but I quickly found the zine scene. John. So I saw through Dave doing Damage Zine and Cavorting Text.
Yeah.
There was other people you could, like Ed Doherty. I got in touch with Ed, who did Warehouse Zine. There was Mike Rose, who did Cow Zine, And these are the people, I mean, also, not all the magazines were catering for street riding then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right,
The occasional little bit in, But with these, there was sort of people my age who I could relate to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So... yeah, that's me contributing to their zines became more my focus than getting into any sort of media coverage. If that makes sense,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so it's sort of grassroots. Grassroots media.
Yeah. I mean, I really felt a strong connection with these people and these magazines in general. Really, Yeah, there was people that speak in a way that and sort of a more adult journalistic way,
They were like-minded, wasn't they? They were into the same similar stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got, I find those friendships I hold quite dear,
Yeah. Well, did you know how many zines Damage did?
Offhand, I wouldn't know, because they must have done half a dozen. Then he did Cavorting Text. And there must have been a few of those. Yeah, I think I had them all, John. I was actually quite a hoarder of all the magazines, since the early action bikes. I ended up getting all the officials and the bi-weeklies, so I knew exactly what was going on in the scene,
Yeah.
But I did cavorting text, I think. And you'd get interviews with, I think there was a Stephen King and things like that. You know what I mean? Just you wouldn't get in a BMX publication.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
more cultured, weren't they? They were further forward.
So it wasn't just BMX or skateboarding. There was other things going on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made it a lot more interesting for me. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your average sort of at this point in time? We're like 87, 88, I guess, and you're right in on the street. Yeah. The street thing is like deep, right? It's just it's coming up big. Like what was your sort of average session of like what did you ride and what sort of tricks did you do and like who was you with and like all that sort of stuff? Like
it was well, if we're talking about that era, John, well, basically my sort of influences, if you like, started off being sort of Ron Wilkinson's lip tricks and skateboarding.
Okay.
But pretty soon that sort of got pushed to the side and we were sort of doing his own thing, Yeah. Especially if we were sessioning with Dave and Sid and so forth. I remember riding with Sid and we'd create a dozen sort of blunt variations in a week, So we was always coming up with ideas, and it was just the creative process that really sort of, that I was focusing on, I was really sort of deep into that,
Yeah.
And it was just bringing something new that people hadn't seen before, John. There is nothing more exciting than seeing something new for the first time,
Yeah.
And I realised that very, very soon, especially with the BFA, if somebody did something that you'd not seen before, it stuck out like a mile, And I knew pretty much that was where the focus would be, Let's try and push this. Let's try and do what people haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was you did all three of you guys ride coaster?
I think so, yeah, for a certain while. I don't know if Dave went through bikes quite easy like I did, I think. So
okay.
But yeah, we did. But we rode slightly different. I mean, I was probably the one with sort of more strength and more sort of bunny up and so forth. Maybe a bit more aggression, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sid was ultra creative, He'd always come out because he also skateboarded as well.
Okay.
So we sort of saw that. And Dave always had the capacity to do something out of the blue. You never knew where you were with Dave, I have to say he had fucking balls on him,
Yeah.
He'd always had the capacities to surprise you,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, and he's a creative soul as well, as we all know.
Yeah, always was, yeah. What was the bike carnage like back then? Like how much parts we used to get through?
Oh, fuck's sake, mate. Well, I'm pretty certain I went through 10 frames in about 10 years, but okay. I couldn't sustain it, John. I was on the dole. I remember getting a Rickman or a Curtis and they last a month. You know what I mean? I was like, fucking hell, here we go again. So it became quite, you know what I mean? It's I was breaking things so quickly, John. You know what I mean? That the bikes couldn't sort of keep up, really.
Yeah.
But which is basically what forced me into getting help from Pete Hawkins at Sports Style. I asked James. I says, I'm going through frames. Could he possibly flow me some things? Like, to his credit, he did. So
yeah. And what was that? What was that specific brands that you had to? You always had OGK wheels.
It was just like Skyways. It was basically old Skyways that was in James's, garage, I would think. They did flow to him, and I'd get a lot of Vision streetwear stuff,
All right.
But yeah, to his eternal credit, he did that. But But I think with me not being so wanting to be in the public eye and then being the media, really, it kind of shot myself in the foot a little bit, because my focus was more into, as I say, these zines with Ed and Mike, you know, and I was sort of contributing with a lot of footage from my scene, you know what I mean? So that was my creative outpoint, rather than sort of looking for this media exposure.
Yeah. And what was the story with it? You always seem to have OGKs at one point. You know, the mags that are angled.
I did, because they lasted, John. You know, yeah, they was perfect. You know,
they were better than Skyways, were they?
Didn't have any trouble with them, mate. Yeah. Oh. And obviously when then I got flowed with Skyway, I rode Skyways. You know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I didn't know. You're the only person I've known who actually had some, I think. So,
yeah.
And then, like, you're coming up to, like, to where a point where you're, like, becoming, I suppose, through the zines and through what you're doing up there and contributing.
Yeah.
You're and like a little snippet in Action Bike where James Hudson mentioned you. You're becoming a name that people know, even though people have never seen you.
Exactly. Like, it's a very strange thing to be, John.
Especially back then, where there was
I mean, I've got my own hang-ups and foibles as well. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh dear. As I say, with little things going on, I was like, I kind of shunned it really, and I did shoot myself in the foot a little bit. Maybe I could have had some more exposure, but it doesn't matter, John.
It doesn't matter. No,
there was no money in it. But I mean, we'll talk about the where we went, like the Boat World Jam, maybe, you know, and
of course,
and so forth, you know. So I did shoot myself in the foot sometime.
So this was like probably 88, I would guess, right?
Yes, yes.
I'm going to South Bank like every Wednesday or whatever, occasionally at the weekends, and like the guys there, like, who are like real good, right? Like Andy Brown, Jason Hassel, like. They're sort of, the word is out. They're like, no, Shaun Allison. Like, there's this guy. Well, I don't even think they knew your name. They probably knew you was Shaun, but they said there's a guy who's one of Dave Slade's friend.
Yeah,
he can really ride street. Like, he's the guy in the UK. But like, we had never seen or heard of you other than these people. But obviously, like, your name is getting out there amongst the heavy hitters, you know. Wow. And then we hear that, and then we have to wait for that year, and then the summer, and then you come to the South Bank Jam, right?
Well, I did, and it's wonderful you say that, mate. It's
so let me just give you my version, because obviously I was there. Right? It was 2 days. It was, I think we rode Saturday, and then Sunday was raining, I think, so everyone was there anyway. Yeah. But you came, and I don't know if I've got this right, but I remember seeing you do a rock fakie, but you spun the bars doing the rock fakie.
I don't know if I did it down there, John.
This is what I can remember.
Yeah. So, well, what happened is Andy Brown came up for the Boat World Jam in Sheffield.
Okay, so Boat World was before.
Boat World was just before. I think it was like a month, maybe 2 months before. Okay. So Andy came up for that. And Andy's a rad rider. He's a phenomenal rider and a nice guy as well.
Yeah.
He came up for that. I do remember feeling quite unwell when I went there, but I got a nice picture of the tabletop, you know, on the
wall. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still one of my favourite pictures. That. So I got that, and then Dave Slade mentioned. He says, "Oh, there's a jam at South Bank. Do you want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, why not?" You know. But I think he secretly wanted me to get some footage of me, basically, you know.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, okay, thinking nothing of it. And then we went down. He said, oh, we're stopping at Andy Brown's. Fabulous, yeah. And we all know Andy was quite intimidating, you know, not really to me, but it was, you know what I mean? He had that edge to him, which I quite like, really, you know.
Yeah.
And so we stopped at Andy, and then, we went to the South Bank comp, you know. And I was initially quite unimpressed by the South Bank, John, you know.
All right.
Because obviously, you know, because it's quite harsh at the bottom, isn't it? It's quite, you know. And to be honest with you, I had all that in my hometown. All the banks to wall, bank to railings, everything. You know, so I was very, very used to that. You know what I mean? And but I didn't like the harshness. I was like, oh dear, you know. And in fact, I'll tell you a little something. Dave come to me. He says, "Why aren't you riding, Shaun?" I says, "Well, I'm not really blown away by it." And this is not my words. This is Dave. He says, "I tell you what, if you ride for half an hour, mate, you've probably got this, you know." And I'm like, okay, yeah. And I just did what I could. But to me, it wasn't much, John. You know what I mean? I know you thinking a different way, you know.
Yeah, no, I thought it was amazing.
I'll tell you what. I was really impressed with Dave Dean when I was down there. When you know, we did the no-handed fakie from flat.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was like, I had to do a double take. I was like, what's he fucking doing? You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I thought I'd seen Andy ride, so I thought I knew what the London guys were.
Yeah.
I'd seen Peter Augustine at Alfreton, so I knew kind of what, but I didn't see that. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's bloody good. I mean, it needs mentioning. It was fucking rad as.
Yeah.
But it was quick. If you could blink and you missed it, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was Mike Canning there, a few others, a guy, Mad McMad, whoever he was.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I know. He was from Streatham. Yeah.
It was really it was cool, but it was like, it was fucking chatty as well. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I seem to remember you as being really quiet as well back then.
I'll tell you what, I am. I'm quite an insular sort of private, but I was shy as well, John, as well, believe it or not, even though I was that age, you know.
Yeah.
I was kind of shy, you know what I mean? But, you know, I'm pretty easygoing, but, you know, I keep myself to myself, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so to us like young guys, you was like a big dude, and you was like, and then you was like pretty quiet, and we was like, oh, well, this guy's not going to speak to anyone. But that's the one thing I remember, which I'm sure, I think you did it on there was a white box sort of gate that no one rode, and it was a slow uphill. There was like a car entrance.
I couldn't tell you, John.
Yeah, and I think you did it on that, because I remember that in my memory being like, I'd never seen that before. I was like, well, he did a bar spin.
What's he done? Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even. And I remember the backwards dropping on the.
Oh, that was nothing, John. I was just trying to just do something for the camera, you know what I mean?
I thought that was really cool, that one.
To be honest with you, I mean, I'm not sort of blown away with the pictures of that day, you know, because to be honest, what we was doing up here was slightly better, if I'm honest with you, John.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If you've seen, I'm sure you've seen the home footage from up here. That was
of course,
about the same time, you know. And we were so creative up here, honestly. That's the thing that I'd like to reiterate. It's not. I came on here not just for me. I came here just to, because I feel our scene as a whole has been sort of underexposed. Maybe underappreciated to a certain degree. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Sid. I'm talking about Dave Slade as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what we was doing. And also, John, you've got to remember the magazines are based down south. You know what I mean? They can't come up here all. You know what I mean? So they probably didn't know some of the things that was going on. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean the bar spin blunts and stuff. I was doing triple ones. I was doing triple bar spins. You know.
Yeah. Where did you get the idea to do that? Like
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. It was just sort of, as I say, we was pushing, any sort of influence got pushed to one side to a degree, and you was just like, right, let's start from scratch and let's do his own thing, because it's the purest form of expression. You see what I mean? If it comes from you, it's a part of you. Don't be influenced by anybody else. Do your own thing. What I did find is what sounds really creative in your mind may not aesthetically be the best trick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was thinking of doing sort of fast plant boosts, and I thought in my mind that could, and it never did. Sort of, I was never happy with that. You know, so something you'd go down some cul-de-sacs where you think, oh, that's really creative, but it wasn't. But then some things would really surprise you, like the bar spin rock and rolls on the metal bar. That was the first take, John. It's like, oh, should we try this? Yeah. Right, are you filming? Yeah, right, let's do it. First take, done. You know what I mean? It was just like, and that's how it was with the filming. It's film was precious, John. You know what I mean? You had to get it done first time.
Yeah, no, of course. And do you was that the first time you'd been to London to ride that South Bank Jam?
First and probably, first time. It's not the only time. But yeah, that was the first time I've been to London. I'm just from a sort of working class town near Sheffield, big bright lights. Dave's invited me. Oh, we went to the ride offices as well with Dave.
Okay, I was going to ask you that.
We wanted to touch on that. Yeah, that was strange. It was like, oh, we've got to call it the ride offices. I'm like, yeah. Obviously, you had a buzzer intercom sort of thing for the second floor thing. It was good. It was nice seeing our magazine was made and so forth. Got free T-shirts, obviously. I don't know if you remember on the Boat World thing, they had in the background they had some weird sort of fonts of elephants and stuff. I remember talking to some guy. I said, "Why are you using elephants? Oh, this was a mistake. This was this. It's really weird, But yeah, it was going to open my eyes."
What was the Boat World thing? I didn't.
The Boat World Jam. It was sort of a surf and skate shop, and they did like an off-pipe comp. They had like Neil Dan's, Saitab Ron came, Ellis came, obviously, Jed Wells. I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, but this was, I think, probably the first time I saw Jim Tomlinson. I saw Mike Rose.
Okay.
Those sort of guys, But yeah, it was a fucking mad contest.
And that was the vert ramp and you had like the street bit behind.
Street comp, and this was at a time when skaters and bikers just rode at the same time. There was no separate thing.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the first contest. The first contest was Dave Slade's Method to Madness, John, and that was probably a year and a bit before that.
Was that the one that he had the cover shot of riding over the door?
It was. He did a fakie, and then he did a wall ride. Over a door.
That's it. He was in like a lab coat or something, wasn't
he? Yeah.
So what was that? Damage jam?
I think I got a small picture in there. I think my brother did.
Okay.
And also my mate Dino Squillino, he got a bomb drop. Very.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because I think he was in it a bit later skating. Maybe was he Dino Squillino?
He was, yeah. But a lot of us were sort of interchangeable. What I mean? With BMX and skating. But I'm sure that was the first sort of street comp, especially in the UK.
What the damage?
Madness was sort of, in my head, it's sort of 87, John.
It could have been, yeah. I think you might be right.
It was definitely way ahead of its time, mate.
And who put that on?
Dave Slade.
Okay, was it a damage jam or just whatever it was?
I think it was just called the Method to Madness. In my eyes, anyway. So
okay, because that got good coverage in BMX Action.
So it should, mate. It's so forward thinking. Dave was. Very creative mind.
Yeah. And then, so what happens after that is like, so then we're coming into like 89.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did you, when you came to London to ride South Bank and then you went back home? How did you compare the two scenes?
Well, it is a little bit different. As I say, I've got enormous respect to say Dave Dean, Andy Brown, and so forth. And it compared, but it was slightly different. But I do think on a daily basis, some of the things I saw was quite up there, John. If I'm honest with you. I think our scene definitely compared to the. I don't know about Craig Campbell. I never did see him ride. I've heard stories. You know what I mean? It's a pity. I would have liked to ride with Craig, but we never did.
I think he was off to America. Then
it was certainly in America, and that's. The first Meet the Street Jam as well, that was fucking incredible, John.
Yeah.
That 540, how he didn't win is beyond me.
Yeah.
how he didn't win. You know what I mean? I know Volker was amazing, but come on, the creativity of Craig.
Well, like you say, the first.
Yeah,
it was the first, wasn't it? It was the first.
Yeah, I mean, if he'd have done that in the final, I've no doubt it would have won it. You know.
Yeah. And how did you, when you saw those old sort of meet the street contests? This is like when you're right in your vibe right now, right? So that was obviously like almost validation for what you guys were doing over here, I assume.
Honestly, if there's only one comp I wish I'd have entered, it would have been that.
Okay,
purely for validation, you know, for me, but it would have been nice, but I didn't have the money. I didn't have it. I was tucked up here, and it was fine. You know what I mean? It was fine, and I'm just very glad that sort of Craig was sort of flying the flag, and he was being as creative as he could be. You know?
Yeah. And it was nice to see that finally happen as well on that scale.
It is. I mean, it is. I mean, it's nice to get validation that the British riding was up to or near that standard of the Americans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, because I think in certain times it has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
the standard of British riding, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And what was like your crew now is like? Is it predominantly you, Sid, and Dave Slade? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously, I was also a massive part of the Hudson scene as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was the older gentleman in that scene, as you will.
Okay.
You know? So I was there from the start, you know, and I saw it all. I mean, Jason Ellis coming Ride Street, amazing, and James as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think. I mean, I brought the strength and maybe the aggression a little bit more than the rest of the guys as well.
Yeah. Well, I just meant like the sort of the street sort of creativity was being put in by all of those guys you just mentioned.
It was a good melting pot of, you know, we had we all put it in. We all put it in, and that we all knew that was like the focus, you know, to create something new. Something fresh and something hopefully that people hadn't seen before.
Yeah, which is that is what happened, isn't it? So.
But then again, I think a lot of the ride. I mean, a lot of the London guys, you know, were fabulous. You know, they was doing it their thing, but maybe we was underexposed. You know what I mean? But you know, things happen.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And then like is it 89 that like you get that quite. Well, very famous footage of you riding. Is it a local? Is it Worksop maybe?
What's that?
Where you've got that little section in one. I can't remember whose video it was. It might have been Will Smith's old video.
Are we talking Jive Smile on My Face video?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Whoa, dear.
Who filmed that?
You what? Sorry.
Who filmed it?
Well, it was a local skater called Lee Shipman. His brother, Carl Shipman, got really good.
Yeah, I know.
But they were sort of filming themselves, you know, as they progressed, and they'd film me, and I was in my sort of sending footage off to zines sort of phase.
Yeah.
So I'd send it to Ed and to Mike Rose as well, but unbeknown to me, that was filmed 88, maybe early 89.
Okay.
So yeah, that sort of time frame. But unbeknown to me, it went on Jive's Smile on My Face, I think.
Oh, you didn't know what was going on there?
No, I had no idea.
Oh, okay, it was crazy.
I didn't know until 20 years later, John. I had no fucking idea, you know. I just sent it to Ed, and then it was on. I'm pretty certain, I could be wrong, that it was 2 years later that it sort of appeared on that video, you know. So, and I was blown away. I was like, you're in the video. I was like, you're joking. So, but there wasn't many people filming themselves at that point, John. You know,
that's right. Yeah. It's good that's because it's so progressive as well. It's good that got captured.
I'll be honest with you, I was surprised. There's a few things. There's like the New Deal revert on it from the Broadmarsh Banks. That I quite like. That may be the latest footage I sent, but I think it holds up, John. I think it holds up.
Yeah, no. Well, I would have seen it back then, and I was like, it was It was good shit, yeah, like amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, there's clips on there that you might not think are that good, but I watched it the other day because I knew we were talking. And I'll tell you what, I saw Feeble Grind down the stairs, right? So at that point in time, there was no Feeble Grind.
There was no Feeble Grind, and I was doing it, John.
It didn't exist.
Doing it on an RO Master.
I know.
If you remember, we got the tiny little foot standers at the back. That's what I was grinding on.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah. I mean, I wore the hand of that. I wore it all the way, mate. You know what I mean? But it probably hadn't been done. It certainly hadn't been publicised.
Yeah.
And if you think for one moment that Matt Hoffman doing the first grinding, I forgot which video you're deluding yourself. You know what I mean? People were grinding way before then.
Craig Campbell in '86, he was peg grinding.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, we was all doing it. You know, I remember distinctly looking at an handrail in late '88, maybe '89, and I spent 2 weeks looking at this handrail, thinking, well, I can't do it double peg because I haven't got a front peg. And I can't grind on the RO Master. Or the only way I'm going to do it is to grind sort of chainring pedal.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
You know, that's the only way I'm going to do it. And it was a really short, sharp one. The only one I could find. I thought, oh, shit. I spent 2 weeks looking at that handrail. And I didn't do it. To my, you know.
But that makes...
To my shame, I didn't do it.
That makes sense, though, because back then everyone ground on the chainring, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the grind.
I mean, Sid was the first to do the bottom bracket grind.
Yeah.
And he used to foot plant into those and then grind. He was only on the photo shoot when it's like, oh, can you do it without foot planting? He was like, I'll have a go. You know, that was the first one.
Oh, so what about you doing that feeble? Was you doing that feeble on other stuff as well as that?
Oh, yeah. Anything I could find, John.
Oh, so that was a well-used trick, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, right, amazing.
Well, I think a lot of his crew was sort of trying it as well then, John. You know, I mean, it's not just me.
Yeah, of course.
I may have been the first, but I was certainly wasn't the only one trying it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that stuck out to me because it was like, oh, this is the wrong time for that trick.
It's weird, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's little things that you can just like bypass and think, hang on a minute.
Yeah, totally. And they'd like off the bank over the bin, like the tuck as well. I like that.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of stuff in there. The rock fakies were good. Like, it was cool shit.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
No worries, man.
Means a lot.
Yeah. And so in '89, we get that footage was '88. You say, yeah?
Some of it was '88. Some of it maybe in '89, mate. Yeah. Okay. It was sort of that time frame, you know.
And then, like, this is the same year as I don't know if you remember it, but Waff upon Dern Jam.
I do indeed, mate. I do indeed. Yeah.
So, was you something to do with that?
Strangely, I wasn't, though I was slightly involved, and I'll explain. In the magazines, it was quoted that me and Chris Hardy sort of did that. No, that wasn't the case. It was Chris. It was Chris being helped out by Waddy as well. Chris's idea. But what it was by that point, I'd got my sponsorship, you know, and I sort of knew the magazine, so I may have sort of contacted the magazine saying this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I kind of got some of the sponsorship for it as well, you know what I mean?
All right.
Which, you know, it helps, you know. But no, it wasn't me. I'm sorry to say.
Okay.
All that credit needs to go to Chris and for Waddy helping out with the ramps.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I knew Chris was heavily involved. I didn't know Waddy.
Certainly involved. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And that you didn't write that either, did you? You just kind of.
I did write it. Yes, John. I wrote it. Yeah, I did.
I can't even remember. Oh, I can't even remember that. Yeah.
Did you turned up there, didn't you?
Yeah, we was there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see, after a while, but sort of, I wasn't too bothered about sort of magazine footage. So I'd just go to comps just to hang out, really.
Okay.
I admired it and stuff, but it wasn't my priority to sort of push myself. You know what I mean, John?
Yeah.
I'm just hanging around with all the zine guys that I knew about it. You know, first time I saw Will Smith. You know.
All right.
And Clive Gosling, I think, as well. So Well, yeah, I did. I rode the final, but I just wanted to do one trick, and it was pretty shit, and that was me. I did one trick, and then that was up.
What did you do?
Oh, it was nothing. Looking back, it was like I think it was like a New Deal on the sub box. It was like nose picked a disaster on the sub box. It was, in hindsight, it was fucking nothing. It was throwaway, But yeah, I just wanted to do something different or something that hadn't been done, and that's about all I can think of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to be honest, I didn't even see Zach jump the car. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. But yeah, when he jumped the car.
Yeah. That's all I
don't know what. I must have been fucking somewhere else or something. You know what I mean? But I missed that. God knows what I was doing.
Yeah, that was a really good day. Like that was one of my favourite days.
It was very underground though, John. You know what I mean? It was
perfect.
People in the know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was fucking awesome. I thought that was one of my favourite events I've ever been to. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Eye opener for me. It was like this is the remains of what's left of the BMX scene in the UK. It was nice.
I rode it. I think the spark was going a little bit for me then, John. I'm sorry to say,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, so that seemed like a closure for some people. Like that did feel like, that's the end, and we're not going to see many of these people again.
Yeah.
But you carried on riding after that, didn't you?
I carried on riding, John. But what happened was I was losing the spark, and I'll tell you why. Because it seems strange, but I rode with a coaster, and I had like 4 or 5 spares coasters. You could change the internals, you can change the engagement.
Yeah, that's right.
If you know what to do it. But I'd run out of those, and I was going to a freewheel, or very soon I was. And I wasn't sort of, you know what I mean? I love my coaster. As I say, to bring something new from old technology, to show something new. So my spot was gone because the scene was disbanding.
Yeah.
Jason Ellis, who I'd rode with for so long, I love him like a brother. He was going to Circus Krona.
Okay.
And then pretty soon Dave Slade went to university. Sid was off skateboarding, I think, you know what I mean? Yeah. So our scene sort of fragmented. For me, I was left, I wouldn't say high and dry, but it was like, it was just like, the scene's changing, And my sport went, And I also felt I'd given fucking my heart and soul to it, you know what I mean, for 10 years. And I'd left a little impression which was highly important to me, because for a long time, John, I thought I'd never make it, because in our scene, everybody sort of got sponsored. The Hudsons, Ellis, Dave Slade, or Sid maybe not, but you know what I mean? I'd been riding maybe longer than them and more than them, because I rode, I was unemployed. I had all that time to ride, you know what I mean? I rode all the time,
Yeah.
So it was a bit disheartening, and also, John, I'd put girlfriends and job to one side as well for a long time, you know what I mean? I knew that had to change at some point.
Yeah.
So things had to change, John. And as I say, I'd given my heart and soul. I was emotionally drained as well as physically,
Needed a break, didn't you?
I did, and to a degree, it sounds strange, but I had to take a break, because if I didn't, John, I wouldn't love BMX the way I do now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'd have been burnt and I'd have been away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
what about the Broadmarsh jams? Was that before before Waff Upon Dern? Was it?
Oh, way before, John. Yeah. You see, in my time frame, it was Boat World, South Bank, Broadmarsh, Cow Jam, then Waff Upon Dern.
Okay.
But it was Ross Marshall's idea.
All right.
Yeah, so I went down, hung out with Ross, with Dave Slade, rode the jams. Nice to ride with guest shooter,
Yeah.
A person you'd look up to in the magazines,
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, those were great days, And again, we was just, I rode Broadmoss. We all did. It was a one. Did you ever ride it, John?
Yeah, I went there twice. Yeah.
Oh man, It was a fucking unique place,
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been riding there a long time, and it was fabulous. Fabulous. The first time I saw the invert guys,
Oh yeah, that's right. I was going to say because they had coverage in that mag, didn't they?
Coverage, yeah.
Was there
And
two of them?
it was quite gushing. You know what I mean? And I've got, as I say, I've got my faults and fables. You know what I mean? Foibles, sorry. But you know what I mean? And it's kind of hard to take compliments. You know what I mean? I'm quite shy, and you know what I mean. But yeah, great days, John. Great days.
Yeah, man. Yeah, magic. Yeah, yeah. And then, like, how did you not? Was you not at the carve jams after that though?
I may have gone to one, maybe.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, well, to say the fight was going, but what I did do, John, is when Jason did, I think he did 9 months at Circus Krona. Obviously, he needed somebody to ride with as well, Yeah. And I rode with him for 3 or 4 years, I think. Whenever he was back, it was like, come on, let's go out, let's go ride. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But we was no longer sort of trying to be as creative as we was. We'd still do sort of handrails and so on, but we weren't. I wasn't at a level that we was, or we weren't progressing at the rate that we used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What years are these though? Like early 90s?
Yeah, we're talking 90, maybe 91, mate. Yeah.
Okay. So did you like? I assume you did sort of. You left it for a while.
Yeah, I once I made a decision, I thought that's it. I'm going to walk away. But yeah, the amount of people that come to me, oh, you did this, and I was like, okay, I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm off to live my life I'm off to do something else. You know what I mean? I'm going to experience something else in life. And so it was like that for about 9-10 years. And then I got the fire for it again. Somebody out of the blue saying, come on, we're going riding. Okay, yeah, I'll buy a bike. You know what I mean? Let's go ride. But what was beautiful about it, John, is I got to ride all the skate parks that I didn't ride in the first time. You see what I mean? I didn't ride Rom and, Livingston and Southsea, and I got to do them. You know what I mean? And also ride a skate park that I didn't get to do first time round.
Yeah. Right, so you just like getting back into riding. Like, who got you back into it?
Just local guys, pal.
Okay.
Yeah, just local guys. And I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Bought a bike again. And yeah, it felt fresh. It felt new. It felt exciting again, John. You know what I mean?
Cool.
That I've not felt for a while.
What was the break? How long was it? 10 years, you say?
Maybe just less, maybe 9 or so. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Go to Sheff, meet George French and stuff I had not bumped into for a while, and it became fresh and exciting, and we became learning sort of mini ramp tricks. You know what I mean? And it just it felt new again. You know what I mean? And it came naturally again. You know what I mean? Which was surprising.
Yeah.
Just at a local park, and I didn't realise that parks were 10 a penny as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go to any town now.
I saw the footage of that you riding that mini ramp, and I thought that was fucking great. Yeah. Yeah. So that was like 2006 or something.
Sorry, John.
Was that like 2006 or 2005?
No. That was 2003, maybe.
Oh, okay.
That was just a local park, John. Just filmed in the morning session. You know what I mean? Just filmed within an hour. You know what I mean? It's just, so yeah.
That was good footage. It was good.
I'll be honest with you, John. I've got some other footage of me and Jason opening the park quite close to us. I'll send it down quite far.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
I've got stuff you may not have seen. You may have, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've only really seen them two video clips.
Yeah, and it came natural, which surprised me, you know. I went up to Leeds to see Chris Hardy again, you know.
Yeah.
He was like, you know, I thought I'd go and surprise him, you know, give him the shock of his life, you know.
Yeah.
You know, going to see Ellis again, you know, I had not seen him for 10 years. You know, he's back from Corona, and just, wonderful to see him again, you know what I mean? And, you know what I mean? It's these sort of connections you make with people, they're for life, John, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Of course they are.
And it was nice to sort of reconnect with these people again.
Yeah. I first saw the standout trick on that bit of footage for me was the 540 nose pick.
I'll tell you what, John, because I'm like I'm so vert, and I had to, because that was the only way I could miss the back rail.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you a story. I was at is it Stockton, and Dave Beveridge was working there.
Okay, yeah, Stockport, yeah.
Anyway, I've got my Dorking box set as well, as you would do. I think John Hall was there, and he's like, "Oh, this guy's doing 540 nose picks," and he was like, "Well, I'd fucking expect him to, if I'm honest with you, you know what I mean?" So that was a nice thing, you know.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, no, that was because I know that's like a trick that's quite chased by some people, and you just pop one out like it was nothing.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know, they're not that hard, John. You know, I'm not the smoothest person at doing them, but they're a nice feeling trick. There's others that's nicer, but
yeah,
try them, John. They're not that hard.
I haven't got front. I can't do that. Yeah, I haven't got front brake, but like that was a very good one though. What you did there.
Oh, well, you're very kind, John. Thank you very much.
No. Oh man.
Yeah.
Have you still got a bike now?
I've still got a couple, mate. Yeah. I mean, okay. I do ride on the odd occasion, but what I haven't. I mean, injuries catch up with you, John. You know, I'm sure you know that. I used to think, oh, I'll be riding into my 50s and 60s until, you know, I mean, I had 2 ankle operations 1 year after the other. You know, metal plate and very bad ligament damage. You know. So I've got to be a little bit careful, you know.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I ride mountain bikes on a daily basis, but, you know, and it's the safest form, you know what I mean? And also, I've got to tell you, I've never stopped riding a bike pretty much since I was 15-year-old.
Since the chopper?
Never.
Yeah.
Right from 15 through the BMXing, I've been sort of every day, whether it be sort of transport to work or mountain biking or whatever, I'm on some form of bike every single day of my life, and it's been that way, and that's the way it's going. That's the way it'll be, John.
You all the way through, yeah, man.
Till I'm gone, mate. You know, it's all the way. But it is. It's just once you find a love in life, John, you can't pass it by.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, cycle into the cemetery, haven't we?
It's, yeah, that's the way it's going to be.
And then what about you recently got a Hall of Fame nomination, right?
Oh God. I was the most surprised person you could ever meet, John. I was like, I was at work, and that came up on like a news feed, and I was like, what is going on in the world? You know, what is going on? And yeah, it took me by surprise. But yeah, I went down. But the nominations, you know, Pioneer Freestyle, I was like, I don't deserve it. But the more I think about it, the more what we did, John, the more tricks we invented and so on. Honestly, in my head, I invented dozens. That may not be the case, you know what I mean? But I certainly wasn't influenced by anything, you know.
Yeah.
So the more I think about it, the more I don't know. It's not for me to say, John. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
really is. You know, I can. You know, I'm still shocked and stunned. But yeah, I turned up, and unfortunately, there wasn't the freestylers there present who I thought there would be. You know.
Yeah.
There was me, Lee Reynolds, Owen Clegg, Waddy, obviously, and a few others. You know, Mike O'Connell. You know, I thought there'd be more sort of flying the flag for the freestylers. You know.
Can you remember who else was in your group?
Yeah, sort of Mike Cannon. Blimey! Now you're asking me. You're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, well, you're on the spot now, mate.
Yeah, I mean, real sort of pioneers. You know, we're talking Mike Pardon from early doors. You know what I mean? So really influential people, and I'm just stunned, mate. You know, absolutely blown just to be even thought of in this category. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, Dave Slade was nominated. You know what I mean? And I saw firsthand the things that he did. You know what I mean? And they still take me, but you know, it is really influential to me.
Yeah, totally. Well, did you speak to Dave Slade?
I haven't spoken to him for a while. Last person, I think Ross Marshall used to be in touch, but I don't know. But no, I mean, we all know what he does now.
Yeah.
Good luck to him. I wish him the very best. You know.
I actually spoke to him late last year.
I know you did, John. I was waiting for you to bring that up, mate.
Yeah, which was quite like surreal, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what are his thoughts on BMX in general at the moment?
Well, I was trying to obviously get him on here, which he seemed quite keen on. And then I guess he got busy. But it seemed, from what I was expecting to what he said, he was way more enthusiastic than what I thought he would be, which was nice to hear. I only hung out with him 3 or 4 times in my life, but he was always cool, you know. So did you film for Smart People in a Car Crash as well?
I did, mate. I did. Yes, I did. Staveley Bowl, and there was an indoor park at Mansfield for a short while. Yeah, we did some shooting there. Yeah, not my best footage. I think El's footage holds up quite well.
That's Hudson's Ramp.
Yeah, Hudson's Ramp. Yeah, and at Rom. I think El were riding Rom pretty well. The foot pants on the half pipe was really nice. I'm quite proud of the blunt bar spin on the mini ramp. That was about all right.
Yeah, but, I'm gonna have to look at that.
It was all right. I'm pretty certain, from what I remember, it was a college project, John.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think that's where he did it. You know. But again, I don't think I bought it at the time. I was, you know.
You was gone already.
I don't know why.
Well, that came out late 90, so you might have already been kind of like.
No, I was still aware. I mean, I think, was it 70s did it? I think they had it in their shop. I was definitely aware of it, but I was, I wouldn't follow it religiously like I did. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
What did you think of that when it came out? It was a bit crazy, wasn't it?
I think it's Zach Shaw's favourite film, isn't it? So what I've read somewhere that it's Zach Shaw's favourite. It's a bit over edited, but I think it's okay. It's not easy viewing. I think that's
I watched that recently as well and was like, wow, this is hectic. Yeah,
it is actually. Yeah.
It was definitely a different take on it. Yeah, I'd like to see that footage without all that crazy editing.
That sort of Dave's mind frame as well. You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. It goes at 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? He probably sees things like a few people I really respect in probably a different light than what most people do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's out of the box, isn't he? Like that's
a little. But, I mean, he's somebody I can relate to. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's looking at things from a different angle.
Yes,
that's what I mean.
There's certain people I seek them out. You know what I mean? Because they're really interesting people. You know.
Yeah, nice. So what do you do now?
Well, funny you should ask. I've just taken a sabbatical from work, John.
Oh yeah.
I quit my job about 2 months ago, and I'm unsure. I may take a leap year. I still think my dad moved to France when he was my age, John, for the last 20 years of his life. I'm not saying that's what I'm going to do, but there's the possibilities are endless, John. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just, for the moment, I'm taking a gap year. I've been a slave to the wage for a long time. You know what I mean? And I need some me time, you know.
Nice.
I'm gonna ride my bike for a year, while I'm still healthy. You know what I mean? I'm still fairly healthy, you know.
Yeah, no, you look well, mate. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, Hall of Fame next year or what?
Possibly. I like some of the things they're doing with it, John. I'm not too enamoured with some. I think the freestylers should get involved, same as Owen said on your podcast. I think they should get involved. It's very strange, though. It's very sort of race orientated. I wouldn't like to say I was underwhelmed, but I was expecting a little bit more. You know what I mean? A little bit participation from the freestyle crowd. I think Owen got it pretty much spot on. I think they're going in the right direction. A few things that maybe need to iron out. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's not every day you get to have a conversation with Andy Ruffle, I suppose, is it? So.
Yeah. So, well, what was he like?
It was all right. He's a bit larger than life character, if I'm honest with you. It's all right. It was maybe not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I've never met him.
I'll tell you a very small story. We was on the second or third hole shot, I can't remember, maybe the second one. We took the overnight train, all the skaters and bikers from the Sheffield area, took the overnight train. Sheffield, it was like 5 to 12. We got there about 6:15. It's like the mail train going down. And we was the first one there at Islington, and he turned up, you know, when he was at the height of his fame, you know what I mean? And I just brought that story to him, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I seen him. We're the first people there at the Islington Centre that year, and he led us in, you know what I mean? So which was nice.
Oh, nice. Sobel Centre. It's around the corner from where I am now, yeah.
You're joking?
No, it's still there, yeah.
I'll have to call in sometime, John. I'll have to
do it. Yeah, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, bring it on, mate. Why not? I keep meaning to, you know what I mean? It's about time I kick myself up the arse and get, you know.
When was the last time?
Which was nice going to this Hall of Fame, John, you know what I mean? Because I do sort of keep myself to myself, you know.
Yeah.
And I really should be going to a lot more events than I do, you know.
Yeah. Well, when was the last time you was in London?
About 15 years, mate.
Okay, I thought he was going to say South Bank Jam for a minute.
No, sorry, not far off, but I have, you know, it's not my favourite place, if I'm honest with you, John. But we got his own. But yeah, I should come down. You know, I should sort of involve myself with people a little bit more.
Yeah, man. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, if you're good with that, I'm good with that.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for this podcast, mate. You really should. You know, it really is an absolute awesome thing that you're doing, John.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Hello. Right. So we've just got a Patreon page. We've been doing this show for nearly 2 years, and it will remain free, and it has always been free. But if you want to become a supporter or send something our way, go to our Patreon page. I think there's 4 tiers. There's a lot of benefits to most of the tiers. Thanks for your support and thanks for listening. We're going to try and do more of these if we can get the right amount of funding back in. So if you can support, please do. Thanks. See ya.